Hey everybody, welcome to episode 72. Today is not going to be the Ghost Opus Eponymous album. It is going to be a Kiss Rock and Roll Over. Thank you, Amazon. So what happened was I ordered Opus Eponymous and this t-shirt last Friday, just passed, and they said it was going to be delivered Sunday along with the shirt. So then I said, okay, good. You'll be here in time for Monday to do a video on that. And of course, that didn't happen. I got an email saying, oh, we're not going to deliver your album until the 28th of next month, and we'll deliver your shirt tomorrow, meaning Saturday. Okay. So I was like, all right, well, fine. I guess it's not coming for a month. Let me go and grab another album, see if I can get something here by Monday to do a video on. And, obviously the Kiss video took off, and a lot of people like it, which is odd, I find. But I figured, I got plenty more to talk about with Kiss, and I did a little bit of thinking and a little bit more research this weekend to kind of get my facts straight, because I think when I did the original video, my facts were it was off the top of my head, and I had some things wrong. Not blatantly wrong, but there's just some certain things that I didn't take into account that I didn't think of that day. So I figured, okay, I'll order Rock and Roll Over. I wanted it anyways on LP. I ordered it. They said, it'll be here Sunday. Oh, sorry, this is Saturday I got this. So Saturday the shirt came for this album, and I was like, I'm not going to order this shirt for Rock and Roll Over. I guess being that guy seems to be difficult to pull off. So, doing this quick, so I figure, plus I don't have $1 million to keep spending on all these shirts and albums. I'm trying to pace myself and give myself an allowance. So I ordered Rock and Roll Over. It said it'd be here Sunday. Great. 1-day delivery. Let's see if this happens. Sunday, I get Rock and Roll Over. Comes, sure enough, it comes late, but it comes, it's Sunday driver around here. Apparently they want to be doing something else besides their job. I don't blame them, it's Sunday. But anyways, probably the only day week they work. However, so then I get an email saying, no, your Opus Eponymous will be coming Wednesday. Okay. And then I got another email towards the end of the day saying, no, it's going to be delivered till next Wednesday. So whenever that album comes, I'll do a video on it. I'm sick of farting around with it. It's starting to really piss me off. So whatever's going on with that. But I'm going to do Rock and Roll Over today. So I just wore the shirt anyways. Got a new t-shirt. I like to wear my new t-shirts. So wrong shirt, wrong album. Anyways, so yes, it did come, and I did open it. So we're not going to get a fresh opening. I ended up opening the album. And obviously, right off the bat, I love this cover. And the odd thing, of course, this being the album between Destroyer and Love Gun, it doesn't feature Ken Kelly art. Which, I love the Ken Kelly art. I love Ken Kelly. I love Frazetta. So obviously anybody who's an offshoot of that, Boris, Ken Kelly, you name it, anybody who's drawing or painting in that style in fantasy art, I love. And, Kelly's artwork is amazing. However, they went with this guy, which I don't understand. It's not a big deal, but I'm just like, what was the rationale behind that? And I don't know the artist's name off the top of my head. But the nice thing about this album cover, not only is it kick-ass looking, but it really does play up to that 70s feel. This came out in 1976. And everything kind of at that time, there are lots of stuff, lots of kind of psychedelic-y art. And there was lots of remember the Gala kites, the store-bought kites, little plastic bat kites that you'd buy. There was a bat, a black one with the red flaming eyes, and then they had the white one that had the red flaming eyes but looked a little different. You remember how their logo looked? I should have looked it up, but the Gala kites. Look it up, Gala kites from the 70s. I think they probably still make them today, but they had that kind of feel to them. They also had that feel of, does anybody remember Cosmic Candy as well? Cosmic Candy was a big thing around that time because I was of that age, and running to the DNC. Now, you probably don't know what the DNC is, but we used to have before there were dollar stores, they used to be called dime stores. Now the dime store was more like a Dollar General, or everything didn't cost $1 there. And just like the DNC, the dime store, everything wasn't just $1. Um, and it was called the DNC as well. It was on the corner of, I don't know what the cross street is, in downtown Rochester. It's been gone for a long time. It's been gone, I'd say, at least since like 90, 91. I know it was a series of restaurants. They turned into restaurants, like most things, like the old post office. It was a series of restaurants. All the good, cool stuff from downtown Rochester's all been... I don't want to get started on downtown Rochester and the anger I have towards my hometown, but anyways, yeah, I like this artwork. I mean, I thought it was very indicative of the time. Of course, for a kid, too, it was very easy to draw. It wasn't like you're trying to copy a painting. So I used to draw this all the time. And I loved how Ace Frehley's hair was just like that tire. As opposed, you had like the fiery hair for Gene. Everybody else had kind of like the fluffy hair, but Ace, they gave him this like almost like tire, it was like Goodyear hair. I liked that. I thought that was cool as a kid. But yeah, I really love this album. And looking back on it, and like I said, thinking about it pretty intensely over the weekend and doing my research, this was the first album I ever owned as a kid. Like I said, the parents had Bee Gees and you name it, Seals and Croft, and the Captain and Tennille albums. All those albums were out in the living room with the family stereo. And then my sister, of course, had like Andy Gibb, and who else did she have? Sean Cassidy. She was really big into Sean Cassidy, and of course, Sean Cassidy. They had the Hardy Boys mysteries with him and Sean Cassidy and oh God, what's the other? Who played the other Hardy Boy? I used to know his name. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but yeah, the other Hardy Boy. So that was big at the time. So my sister had her albums. I think she had some REO Speedwagon. She had some good stuff. And I wanted my own albums. So I, of course, Kiss was the band I glommed onto at the time. So I had to have it. Oh, sorry, I had to sneeze. No, I don't. Okay. So I wanted to have something. Now, I did not have it on LP. This is the first time I've ever had it on LP. I never had it on cassette, and I never had it on CD. I don't believe I did. The way my first album I got, no, technically it wasn't my first record, but it was my first album, was on 8-track. I'll show you a picture of the 8-track, what it actually looked like. I had the white one. And you know what else I found, crazy enough, is I found a couple of things, but I found that blue, now I didn't literally find it, I mean I found it online. I found that blue 8-track player that I had, the one I used to listen to this album and the Ace Frehley solo album on constantly. I found it. And the funny thing was, I don't know a funny thing, but it's just the thing I just took notice of right away was it was made by Sears. Now, I don't know if it's made by Sears or made by some company and the Sears label slapped it, but it's just kind of weird. This is going back to that time period, if you didn't grow up in that time period, or if you did, how prevalent, I mean, I think they make jokes of this in the Brady Bunch movie, how prevalent families were reliant on Sears and the Sears catalog. I remember I was telling them about the Houston Astros story, where we went and got the jerseys from that Sears Fulfillment Center over by Kittyland, in Rochester. I think that wasn't the Avon, because we lived near the Avon shopping center. I can't remember what that shopping center was called. I'll have to look it up. But anyways, yeah, I mean, my parents were Sears crazy. When we moved in that summer of '78 to the new house on Winry Street there in Avon Hills subdivision. It was, I remember my parents ordered all new furniture, and all the furniture they ordered from Sears. I remember this vividly, too. It was really creepy. There's like this Sears like furniture department there at the Lakeside Mall, and I don't know where it would have been, because I mean I know that store pretty well. I mean, I think it's closed now, but I think all Searses have closed their retail outlets. But we used to walk down. You'd walk down a hallway, almost like in the back room, and there was like these series of like rooms that all kind of like, and they were like little living rooms, like off this like main hallway. Really dark too, very dark, very wood panely. and they had all these different rooms. And I remember sitting in the one room with my mom, and she's writing down what she wanted out of this room. I think my sister was there. I don't know if my dad was there. And we were ordering the couch and the love seat, the blue chair, which was my dad's blue chair, this wood stool, these crazy paintings that we had on the walls were supposed to be reminiscent of us, like in colonial period. My mom had some a peculiar taste, but anyways, we ordered all that furniture there. So my parents were heavily reliant on Sears. Now, I don't know if that was the particular time, but most likely, because I remember a lot of our gifts for Christmas came out of the Sears catalog, whether it was the wish book or the actual literal Sears catalog, which is really thick. Because the wish book was thick, but it was only so big. But the giant Sears, the actual Sears catalog, the main one, the non-Christmas one, was huge. I mean, it had tires in there. It had everything. And I'm assuming my parents, because they had that Sears credit card, they were buying all the gifts from there. So that radio, that 8-track player came from Sears, as did the stereo that I had in my. Remember I said I had that turntable stereo? I found it online. Found the same particular one. So I'll show you that in a minute too. And that was also purchased. It was a vintage. I hate when everything's now is a vintage. It's a vintage Sears stereo system. It's like, I know it's vintage, but what year was it? Don't tell me it's vintage. Don't say something 20 years ago was vintage. Tell me specifically what year it is. I hate when people categorize stuff. Especially in where they're trying to sell it. Oh, it's a vintage radio. What's that mean? Did it come out in 1908 or did it come out in 1983? Don't say vintage. Don't say retro. I hate those two words. Just say there's a 1983 Sears radio or 1980 or 1906 Sears, console television set. Tell me the year. If you've got the product, you've got the internet, there's a product number on the back of almost everything that you got, unless it's gone or removed. Just look up the product, look it up on the internet, find the year, find all the particulars, and put that in your product description when you're trying to sell something on eBay or wherever, right? Don't just say, it's a vintage radio. Sorry, I get off on that too. Anyways, so yeah, back to the album. Let's get back to the album and calm me down a little bit here before I get angry at people again. So, first let's look. I opened it, but let's look at the album. So obviously you get the disc, and what's funny, when they got the disc out, I forgot about the Casablanca, the Casablanca album record company. I know I had, because I had Kiss Alive 2 on LP, and that had the Casablanca label, but I think Kenny Rogers, if I'm not mistaken, Kenny Rogers and somebody else recorded on Casablanca because they had the same label on their records as well. But I'm not going to pull it out of there. But it's a 180 gram disc. It's the reissue. I've got it in the the rice paper sleeve for now. For now, I'll probably stay in there forever. But anyways, I was a little disappointed it didn't come with a lyrics sheet. Although I obviously can just go online and look, but came with this. I mean, this is cool, but it would be nice if that was the image and then that side was the lyric sheet, or that side was a band photo. That would have been a little bit nicer, but there's the sleeve. It did come with this, which is really freaking cool, and I don't know what to put it on. I don't know. Maybe I'll just save it like it is. Came up with this vinyl sticker. Now that's pretty cool. This probably cost you $5 or $6 if you bought this like Guitar Center or somewhere. But the thing that's weird though, it's the full album, but every part of it is like separate. So you can just put the wheel, like the the saw blade. I call it the circular saw blade. You can put that sticker, but then you can just put the heads on it, because every single thing comes out differently. Which if you wanted to do different things with it, it's set. I looked up on the original. The original came with a vinyl sticker, and I don't know if it did the exact same thing. I just find it kind of weird. I stuck this to something. I was thinking about putting it on my bass case with my Rush sticker that's on there, but then I thought, I don't know. And then I thought maybe putting it on the side of my turntable stand over there, because I thought that'd be kind of cool. So I still don't know what I'm going to do with it, or if I'm just going to leave it as is. Probably just leave it as is. But that's just cool. I mean, that's a neat little... and miss little things that come with albums that are pretty cool. And of course, there's the album sleeve in the back of it. It's the same thing. It's got the credits and the track listing and stuff up in the corner. So yeah, pretty cool. Again, I think that would have been a little bit, maybe done a little better by putting maybe something else back there, like maybe that image. I don't know, the other image, or a band photo or whatever. But I mean, that's cool. I mean, I guess they're still on the cover, illustrated. But I'd probably say, and also just to go on record, this is my favorite, and it's solely because it was my first album. I mean, I can't say that this is better than Destroyer, this is better than Love Gun, but to me, it's my favorite album because it was the first one that I got. So, I would probably rank my second favorite, obviously, Kiss Alive 2. Ace Frehley solo album is awesome, but it's not a Kiss album. I mean, it's an Ace Frehley solo album. So there is that. Now, let's go in and just do a little... I kind of organized my folders a little bit, my Kiss folder here a little bit. But here's one thing I wanted to talk about now. Remember, and I think I even put, when it hit me, I put this in the description, or put this in the comments of the other Kiss video when I said that, because I looked it up. I'm like going, when was that Kiss concert, the one at the Silverdome? And I looked it up, and it was on July 13th, which would have been, I think it was the 13th or the 11th. I think it was the 13th. But if it was the 13th, that would have been, my birthday's on the 19th of July. I can't do the math. It was 6. It would have been 6 days prior to my birthday. Now, the thing is, that makes sense, because most likely, because remember, that I know that for sure, that birthday, 6-year-old birthday in 79 was my Kiss birthday party. So what probably happened, most likely, and I vaguely remember I more than vaguely remember the conversation with Dad about going to the concert, and I don't know if he said this or my mom said this, but any way you look at it, it was obviously a birthday present, because that was supposed to be my Kiss birthday, and going to that concert was supposed to be was a birthday gift, which is that's a hell of a birthday gift too. I guess it's not a big deal nowadays. The kids want to go see Justin Bieber for their birthday. Well, I'm made of money. Pile all the kids into my Tesla SUV, $100,000 Tesla SUV, and take all of their friends. I've got money I've got company seats. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's a thing nowadays, but back in 1979 for a lower middle class family, that was pretty insane. And just to touch on this a bit, I was looking at the Sears catalog, right? I found somebody had it wasn't a PDF, but somebody had scans of a Sears catalog, and I was looking at the 1977 Sears catalog, because I was trying to find out when that radio was posted in the catalog, or if it was. And I was looking at the prices. And what's weird to think about is I'm looking like brand new color 19-inch color television set, $350. And you looked at if you look that's why nobody had VCRs right away, like in the late 70s. Betamax, VH, big Quasar top-loading Betamax, $875. The tapes were like $100. When Atari first came out, the tapes, the games were $100, $80. It's just crazy to think about if you go back to that time period. I know for a fact, my dad, like I said, my dad worked at Crittenden Hospital. He made like $8 an hour, and he, I probably put in overtime, but he didn't put a lot of overtime. I mean, I would say on average he worked a 40-hour week. 40 hours a week at $8 an hour is like what? $350 like a month, somewhere around there, or a week. So it's like what? Maybe $1,300 a month. Doesn't that sound weird? To own a house, or be mortgaging a house. The AMC Eagle, there's a weird story behind that. It was not perfectly brand new, but it was relatively new. Have a newer car, have a house, a 3-bedroom house, 1-story house. My mom didn't have a regular job. She like I said, she gave poodle cuts to the old ladies on Saturday, but I mean, it's not like she worked like 40 hours a week. And she probably didn't make a lot doing that either, but let's say she contributed another couple of $100 a month. So let's put them at $1,500 a month. Now, you would think, oh, $1,500 a month then, isn't that like, you know, 3,000, 4,000 today? Yeah, but you can't afford a 3-bedroom house, a newer car, be the sole breadwinner and afford to even eat, or let alone go to Sears and buy a bunch of furniture, you know, on $3,000 a month. I mean, it doesn't seem feasible. And back then, looking at it's like color television set, $350 for a 19-inch color television set. It's just like, how in the hell, I remember my dad bought the pool table in the basement, had a pool table delivered. Now, granted, they had the Sears credit card, and like most people, they got into credit card debt. But I mean, even still, it doesn't add up. I just can't. It doesn't track that you could do that unless cost of living stuff like food, which probably was, but things were so dirt cheap that you could pull it off. Again, it's just a weird thing to think about. It's like it's odd, but yeah. So, anyways, let's go to. Okay, so no. So anyway, so yeah, that concert. So that came out. That was, like I said, I think it was July 13th. I could be wrong. Maybe it was July 11th. I know it was right around that time because I looked it up. And here's the other thing: Blue Oyster Cult did not open up for that band, or for Kiss. That band, Kiss. It was Cheap Trick. I can't say that surprises me nor rings a bell. Because again, this is at the Pontiac Silverdome. When Kiss hit the stage and whoever was opening, I could barely hear anything. All I hear is just a wall of sound, right? And I'm a almost 6-year-old kid. So I'm probably standing, and I think I remember standing on my seat a few different times, trying not to, accidentally get down and knock my dad's beer over. But I remember standing on the seat, trying to see the band, and whoever came out on stage. And this thing, I love Cheap Trick. I mean, I love Cheap Trick. And they're one of my favorite, probably just about as most one of my favorite bands as Kiss is. But at that time, I didn't really know who they are, and that's the year that the what do you call it? Dream Police came out. So obviously they were on tour with Kiss to promote the Dream Police album. So. But I remember, like I said, it was probably, most likely this is what it was. I knew that Blue Oyster Cult had opened up for Kiss, but I looked that up, and that happened at Cobo, and that was a few years earlier for, I think it was the, one of the other, I don't know if it was Hotter Than Hell, or not Hotter Than Hell, Dressed to Kill, I can't remember which album it was, but it was obviously the same album tour when they were going to record the Kiss Alive 2, so it was prior to 79. And and then I also remember, these other old adult dudes talking at the concert, talking about Blue Oyster Cult, Blue Oyster Cult, Blue Oyster Cult. So they were probably talking about the concert they were at before, and then I just, as a kid, just thought, oh, that's Blue Oyster Cult. Well, it's Cheap Trick. So it's just a little detail that I had wrong. And, I figured I did. Like I said, I was trying to remember that story off the top of my head. I had to really think about it and do some research and kind of check my facts. But regardless, that's about the time. So I thought we went to that in the fall. And here's the thing: is I swear that it was snowing out when we got back in the car, but that could have been for like a wrestling or something else I went with my dad at the Silverdome. I know we went to WrestleMania 3. I need to do a video on that. We were 17th row from WrestleMania 3 on the floor. Where Hulk Hogan body slams Andre the Giant. I don't know if that was in this. I think that might have been in the winter. But I've gone to the Silverdome, Monster Truck, whatever. So I just probably thinking that it was snowing. But if it was in July, that totally makes sense because that would have been. It was probably like 90 degrees out when we got out of the concert. And then the AMC Eagle sitting there, which my dad was notorious. I mean, the reason we had the AMC Eagle is because he burned we bought a brand new Volare station wagon just before we moved into that house, and my dad never changed the oil on it, and he did a bunch of other neglected some stuff, and he burned the engine up on Telegraph coming home from when he used to work at St. Joe's Hospital, because he worked at all the hospitals. But anyways, he was coming home on Telegraph Road, or was it Telegraph, or was it, he said it was Telegraph. I think it might have been the Pontiac Road. But anyways, regardless, he burnt the car, caught on fire. And I remember how we had to go and go to the junkyard and see it, and the car was just scorched. And I just remember it had that brand new car smell, this green, pea green carpet, and that Volare, it was a pea green Volare station wagon. So anyways, my dad's notorious for not taking care of the vehicles. And I heard stories before I was even born where he burnt up a Corvair, and my grandpa was, totally irate with him about it, his dad. So it makes sense. It's July, we got the AMC Eagle. It didn't die, it just overheated. But I remember, he had to shut the engine down for a while and let it, because he probably didn't have any coolant in it or whatever. He did something to it. I remember also always having to go and it would choke out or would flood out or whatever it was, or get vapor lock, and I'd have to go and take the air filter off, and I'd have to hold down the flywheel with my finger, and then my dad would start the car, and a couple of times he did that, it shot this big flame out and almost burnt my finger off as a kid. It scared the shit out of me. I remember having to do that on many occasions. I remember doing that a lot in Lakeside Mall parking lot. Tim, got to go out there and do the thing. Car's not starting. Get out, take off the cap, pull the air filter off, hit the flywheel. All right, and then you'd start the thing. Boom! And just Jesus, scared the piss out of you. I'm a little kid. I had to reach over to get this. AMC Eagles weren't huge, but I mean the engine part was pretty big for a 5, 6, 7-year-old kid. Sorry, I'm way off course right here. Let's go back to Kiss. So, and also I want to say, I don't discount that I saw that magazine at Chatham, and it would still make sense. No, it wouldn't. It would make. I thought it was snowing out. I think it was cold out, but it wasn't snowing. But it would still make sense that I saw it, because I was looking through. I was looking up magazines from Kiss. Of course, it's a tiny picture. I was looking up for magazines for Kiss around the time. There's like a Hit Parader. There's Cream magazine, and I was like, I know it. And the reason I know it looked different was because I remember they had these Halloween. Oh, sorry. There's Fangora magazine, which had like a certain look to their magazines, and they had these Halloween makeup kits back then. And I remember it looking vaguely like that. And all I can think, and this would totally make sense, all I could think was that they had the official movie magazine for the Kiss Meets Phantom of the Park. Because I looked this up, I can't find a PDF of this or anything. They have a couple of them, real card copies on sale on eBay, but of course people want astronomical money. I don't know why. I mean, I understand the popularity of Kiss, but the Kiss merchandise is, whew, it's what the hell? I'm not complaining, because obviously it's, it's sought after stuff. It's going to go for whatever it can get, but just some of the prices I've seen on them are just oh my lord. So, and I never had this. I just remember looking through it. And I saw this, and I thought to myself, okay, when did this come out? I looked this up. This came out right around the movie did. Now, the movie came out, it was aired on ABC or NBC? I think it was NBC. Maybe it was ABC or CBS. I can't remember. It was one of the networks. It aired on. It was a made-for-TV movie. And people. I mean, obviously, if you're a Kiss fan, Kiss Meets Phantom of the Park. I mean, it kind of goes. I actually watched it last night because I was just bored, and I went and watched it. And whoo, that movie's a doozy. I mean, I've seen it since I was a kid. I saw it back in the '90s. And I think I saw it, in the late 90s too. So I think I've seen it a couple times. I had the VHS, which the VHS goes for crazy money. I had that VHS. I bought it at Meyer in their video and video and movie department at Meyer back in the 90s, early 90s. So I had the Kiss Meets Phantom of the Park VHS. So I'd seen it since the 70s, obviously. But, this was new at the time. So all I could think was I saw this magazine and learned about it. I learned about them. And then it was obviously the talk of the town, and people were talking about it a lot. And then when the movie aired, most likely the movie is what really got me keyed off on Kiss. I mean, obviously the imagery and stuff, but I think, and that would have made sense, it was about 1978. So this was November of 1978. So most likely, and that's when I started kindergarten. Remember, Star Wars had already come out, and the action figures were coming out, and they were going to have it by Christmas. But I think what happened was this movie came out on TV, and I remember watching it on TV. So I didn't talk about this in the last video as the Kiss Meets Phantom of the Park, but and most likely everybody talked about it, and it was the talk of the town, and I, loved it. So then I wanted to get it, and then I started seeing, like when you learn about something, then you start seeing it everywhere, and then saw the albums and stuff. So I'm thinking that that's what happened. Like I said, I put some thought into it. I'm thinking, well, would it have been that, or what something, blah, 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 and I'm pretty sure that that's what happened. Started kindergarten, saw this magazine, then learned that it was going to be on TV. It hit TV in November, saw the movie, and then ended up getting, like I said, I got my Darth Vader, the rest of my Star Wars stuff, including the Death Star playset. And then I believe we got that from Sears. So I remember going to Sears. I don't know if I think I did go into some of my Star Wars action figure video, but where I saw that big wall of figures at Sears. But anyways, which is kind of what I was trying to emulate on my wall back there, was my big wall of Star Wars figures. But anyways, yeah, I saw that, and then we probably got the Rock and Roll Over on 8-track very soon about that. I think I already had the 8-track player. I don't think I got it for that Christmas. It was from prior Christmas, either the year before or the year before that, but I think it was the year before that. Because my dad had 8 tracks, and I wanted something to kind of listen to outside of listening to the stereo. Yeah, so I'm pretty sure that's what. So I'm gonna mark that down in my history book, as that's how it happened. Because everything points to that. The other thing, so let's go into the 8-track thing. Let me show you. That's it right there. That be it. You put the tape on the side, had the speaker right there, you had the volume button there. Actually, the volume button was here. This was the AM. It had an AM radio on it that you could sort of dial in with this knob here. That was you just turned it on, full volume, back off, listen to the speaker. And like I said, I would just put the thing, I'd sit it on the floor, on the carpet, or big, shaggy carpet, and I would just sit on the floor with a pillow and a blanket and just put my head up against it and just listen to it. Just put my head like right near my head and just listen to it. But that is it. And I said Sears Mono 8-track player. It was mono too. I think most of it. I do not believe 8-tracks, unless it's specifically said on the 8-track that 8-tracks were stereo. I think they were mono. Maybe it seems like that have to be stereo, because stereo is way before 8-track. So I don't know, maybe. But regardless, that's the player right there. So there's somebody selling one that works on what do you call it, for like $40, but I don't need to have that. Obviously, then I have to start buying 8-tracks, and I'm not going to do that either. So, but that's it. That's the one I was talking about. And then there's a beat-up copy. Let me show you the better copy. And there's Kiss Rock and Roll Over with the white plastic, because they do have a black plastic one, but I had the white plastic one, and that was the album. Click it into the side. Now, it's weird to looking at the back of it. And there's 2 different versions, because there's that's that beat up one, and they kind of break it up. I know that when you put an 8-track in, I haven't used one in years, probably since back then. I know you put the 8-track in, and it just starts playing, and then if you do have a real 8-track player, you can hit stop, or you can hit, I don't think you could hit fast forward, and this one didn't have a fast forward on it. I think you just had to play the album until it was done, and I believe when it was done, it would just start playing again and go backwards, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I said I'm not remembering how 8-tracks worked exactly, but I remember fast forward is like something that when cassette tapes came out, like, what, you can fast forward? What? That's crazy talk. So, and again, here's the other thing is, the only way I would listen to this, and wherever it was on the tape, that's where it was on the tape. So I would listen to the whole album. I wouldn't skip around just to the hits, or skip around my favorite song. No, I had to listen to the whole album. That's why when I listen to this again, I love every single song on this album. There's not a song on this album I do not like. I like some better than others, obviously, just like any other record, but this is my... I love every song, and I know that I knew every song because I've had to listen to them so many times. You know, I had to listen to the whole album. So, but the thing with the 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't understand exactly. I mean, 8-track, and then there's 8. They call them programs. I'm not sure how this worked exactly. Does it play like the first 2 songs, like part 1, or whatever it says here? Does it play "I Want You," "Take Me," and "Ladies' Room," and then it goes to a second track, like, you know, an 8-track? And maybe they were stereo tracks. So were they? It was 4 programs on an 8-track, and an 8-track can play 4 programs stereo. Is that what that means? I don't know. Like I said, I didn't do any 8-track specific research on how it worked, but I was just curious when I saw that. I just noticed, I'm like going, there's like 4 sides. How could I have 4 sides to an album? And I'm like, what are these programs? You know, like I said, it says there 1, 2, and it's breaking. I know there's 10 songs on the album. You know, and on the disc, it's, you know, I think it's 1 through 5. It's "I Want You," "Take Me," "Ladies' Room," "Dr. Love," and "Baby Driver." And then you flip it over, and then you get "Mr. Speed," "Hard Luck Woman," you know, "Love 'Em, Leave 'Em," "See You in Your Dreams," and "Making Love" on the B side of the album. So the 8-track, just like I said, it's just kind of interesting. You know, again, I'm more out of curiosity. I'm not really gonna go down this rabbit hole. I'm just curious for my own benefit. But there you go. So that, I didn't let mine get that beat up. So there you go. That and that. That's my first real music listening experience. Is right there. I just have the album cover in here because I'll use this for my thumbnail when I make this video. I post this video. So, that's my 8-track thing here. So let's go to the album. And I did take notes. And, alright, I've already blabbed a lot. Let's see if we can get through this without going over an hour too far. Let's pull up... Oh, sorry, got another thing I want to pull up real quick. Let's pull up... Here's Kiss Meets Fan of the Park, just if you wanted to know. And, you know, it just talks about... Let's see where we go. He's got the date. Original release, October 28th, 1978. I thought it was November. So, close enough. It's October 28th. It's right around Halloween. Which makes sense. And that Halloween specifically, I know I was a Stormtrooper, because I had the box costume Stormtrooper. I was Gene Simmons' box costume, which again, I've got a folder on that, but let's try to move on. I was Gene Simmons the following fall for Halloween, but this Halloween I know specifically, the same Halloween I had the action figures, I was, wait a minute. The only reason I say wait a minute is, remember we moved into that house in 78. I know the movie came out in 77, before the action figures. It's a possibility, but I might be wrong, that, because I remember one of my, one of the poodle ladies, my mom gave her, I think her name was Mary Ann, she also gave me $5 for some Star Wars figures. Anyways, I remember her, she parked in front of the house, and she says, "Oh, go out, take my keys out to the car. I've got a Halloween costume in there for you." And it was a 3CPO Halloween costume, and it had that smell. I don't know if you ever smelled those old box costumes, but not Don Post, whoever the guy was, it was like named after the guy who made those costumes. It had a smell to it. But I didn't want to be 3CPO. I took the costume, and I thought it was fun. It was cool. We thanked her, yada, 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 but I don't think I was him for Halloween. I ended up going out as a Stormtrooper. This is why I'm thinking that, and that was before we moved into the house, so that would have been the previous 1977 Halloween, if those costumes were out at that time, which I don't know if they were or they weren't, that I was the Stormtrooper then. But I also remember wearing the Stormtrooper costume before I went out in the new house, which then it would lead me to believe that was the next year, and it was, Halloween 78, right when this movie was out. So let's just go with that. I think, but to stay interested in Gene or Kiss, for me to stay interested in more than a year, it was hard to do back then. So, but obviously I still like the band, and I like them going into '79. So I think it must have been that way. And then the '79 Halloween, I was Gene Simmons. I had the box costume. I wanted the Ace Frehley one, but then when I saw Gene Simmons, the mask, I saw the cool face paint too. I was like, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm gonna be Gene Simmons instead. But this is the VHS cover too. I said these are going for like $130 on eBay for that. I should have kept my. I don't know what the hell happened. Obviously, I get rid of all those VHSs. So I'm not asking where they all went. They went somewhere. But yeah, if you want to get into a deep dive, this actually deserves a video on its own, but I'm not going to make one right now on Kiss Meets Phantom of the Park. The only thing I did notice watching that last night is I didn't recall this, was how much the solo albums were in it. It makes sense because the solo albums came out in '78 as well. How much the music, the solo albums were in this. Like New York Groove was during the one fight scene. They had Radioactive off the Gene Simmons album. Man of a Thousand Faces is on there. A lot of the music from this album, outside of like Shout It Out Loud and Rock and Roll All Night or Beth, a lot of it was from the solo albums, which I don't recall that. So that was just kind of interesting. All right, let me flip over real quick. Let me show you. There it is. And the reason it sticks in my head so much is I remember this groove in the top piece. And again, remember I did stupid things as a kid and weird things you're like, huh? My neighbors, the hillbillies down the street that moved up here from Alabama, they ended up going smelt fishing. And they had this giant barrels of smelt that they brought back in the backyard. And they were, you know where this is going. And they said, oh yeah, go get something to bring, go get a bucket or whatever, and we'll give you a bunch of smelt. We'll show you how to clean them. And he showed us take these scissors and how you cut the heads off and slice them up, pull all the guts out, and throw it in a bucket, and just do this because you're processing all these smelt, which are these tiny little fish, these little silver fish. And I went back to my house, couldn't find a bucket, and grabbed, because this thing detached, and for some reason grabbed this off the radio and flipped it over and brought it down to their house. And he looked at me, he's like, you sure? It's like, yeah. So he dumped a bunch of fish in the lid of this, and I brought it home. I was like, Dad, I got a bunch of fish. He's like, what's that you got it in? Oh, it's the thing for the radio. And he just shakes his head. And I'm sure he got pissed. And I remember I cleaned like half of them, and then I let them all just smell, and the garage smelled like dead fish. And my dad's like, we're getting rid of that stuff. So we ended up, my dad said just dump them in the sewer. So I went and dumped them all out in the sewer. And he goes, we got to get rid of that thing now. It's going to stink up the garage, which it already did. So he took me to the dumpster at the Ledlow Apartments. And I remember over there, and we just threw that in the dumpster. So I've got a story behind just the top of that turntable. The other reason that it caught my eye is because this is what keyed me off, is this damn thing. This black arm that swung over. That's why I was like, oh shit, that's it. That's the radio we had, because of the black arm. It's this, this would hold all the discs, just like my Sharp did, and this thing would slide out of the way and drop a disc, or it would push it, or I can't remember how it did it, but it was a mechanism for dropping multiple discs. As you can see, this thing here had like a hook on it, just like the Sharp did. And then it would stop when the record drops, and it would go in, and then the stylus would come over. I remember this right here, switching it to play the other ones that had this wood top to it. Now here's the thing: is I know for a fact, and I remember the buttons vividly, and I remember the headphone jack. The reason this was kind of hard to find. I found one was similar to it, but it had an 8-track player in it, and I know that that's the reason we had the 8-track player. And that's the whole reason my mom and dad got the new stereo and gave me this, is because the new one, the console one, had the 8-track player in it. And my dad had the 8 tracks in the because he was like, I'm not messing around with albums anymore. I'm getting all 8 tracks because they're easier and they take up less space. I mean, it's a parent's mentality. So this did not have an 8-track player. And all the ones I saw that had that same tabletop on top, there were these Sears vintage stereo systems, were 8-track players, and it's like, mine didn't have an 8-track player, and I remember these knobs, and, I mean, like I said, you gotta think, before the internet, you know, before a lot of things. And when you'd sit there and you'd watch or you'd listen to albums, your eyes got to focus on something, and you would just stare at this stuff. Like the entire eye in the album is you just stare at the knobs. So these knobs are burned into your psyche. You know, these buttons are burned into your psyche. You know, and I remember all the different things in the back there. I remember the circuit breaker thing. I don't think I ever touched it, but you know, and I remember the brown cord. And then I had the two bookshelf speakers that were sitting on the floor that were attached to it, which are just, they look just like the radio, just these brown bookshelf speakers. But this is how most of the people had turntables back then. And it was a pretty, I mean, it's a full-size platter. You know, it got this rubber on it, which I remember the rubber on it. So it wasn't super cheap. I mean, it was pretty good quality. And I'm sure it wasn't a Pioneer or whatever, Technics or some really high-end turntable back then. But they played the records, and they played them just fine. Like I said, it had this cool switching system. You know, it had this receiver, everything's built into it. So the type of stuff they make like this now is garbage. But back then, when they made these all-in-ones and these things, there's some quality to them. So I just wanted to point that out. What else did I want to show you here real quick? Oh no, let's just go to the album. It's already 44 minutes. I'm gonna get like 15 minutes to talk about this album. So anyways, this is the album on YouTube Music. I said I'm not gonna play it, so if you want to hear it, just go listen to it. Let's go through my notes. The first thing I kind of pointed, obviously, you know, it's the fifth studio album, because it goes the Kiss album, Hotter Than Hell, Dressed to Kill, Destroyer, and then this is the fifth. I put fourth for some reason. Fifth one, like I said, it was sandwiched between Destroyer and Love Gun, and it didn't feature the Ken Kelly artwork, so it's kind of unique in that regard. I'm not going to put in where it was recorded in New York at some place. I mean, if you want to look up on YouTube or on Wikipedia all the super particulars, but I'm just going to give you my take on it. But the first thing, you know, that I noticed about this album and most of the Kiss stuff is Kiss is straightforward rock. It's not heavy metal. It's not hard rock. It's just rock. And, you know, if you listen to, it's very Led Zeppelin. It's very, very heavily Led Zeppelin. And I think, as I put in my notes, I think going the Led Zeppelin-y route, and, you know, basically every single song on the album is about chicks and scoring with chicks and banging chicks. It's pretty much what every song's about on this album. Banging chicks in some fashion or another, and, you know, they're very unapologetic about it. You know, it's the album's just screaming with machismo, and by all sense of the word, if I was talking about bands like Nickelback or something else, I would call these guys ultimate douchebags. And they are. But I love them. For some reason, I don't know, these douchebags get a get-out-of-jail-free card. It's a very douchey album, but I love it, you know. And the thing that's so funny is, and I'm listening to lyrics and stuff on all these songs again, and it's just like, I cannot believe... And it's just mind-boggling to me that how I was able to listen to this album over and over again, you know, at volume sometimes, and be singing along with the stuff and the lyrics, and nobody batted an eye. My mom didn't think anything of it. My dad didn't think of it. My sister never said anything of it. School teachers never said anything of it. Neighbors never said anything about it. I mean, here, I'm just going to read you just a couple. You probably know the songs if you're a Kiss fan, but I mean, if you're not a diehard Kiss fan or you're not familiar with this album, like I Want You, which is, you know, Paul Stanley sings this one. Did I have a note about the I Want You? I Want You didn't have anything screaming right off the top of my head. I just put that, I just noticed that when the first song off the bat, I've never listened to this album in such high fidelity before. I was picking up stuff that there's no way I would have picked up on the 8-track back then. No, was it Take Me? Yeah, Take Me. I mean, there were opening lines, Paul Stanley, put your hands in my pocket and grab onto my rocket. I mean, it's like, I remember singing that. I remember walking around, put your hands in my pocket, grab onto my rocket. I'm freaking 5 years old. You know, going to kindergarten, talking about putting my hands in my pocket and grabbing on my rocket. That's just insane. It was such a different time period back then. I mean, this album would never be made today. I mean, every song, every Nicki Minaj or every whatever fill in the blank hip hop band that's talking about butts, right, and shaking butts and doing things with butts and everybody's twerking, right? You would think that with all that, I guess I don't even know what to describe that word would be, whatever, that this song would just be go right in place. No, this album would get crushed by today. People would pan this like the second coming of Satan. It was, they would really literally think it's evil. Or it would be the worst thing. It's so misogynistic. Well, it is and it isn't. Obviously I don't think that they're hating on women, right? They're definitely trying to use women for sex, yes. And they're very unapologetic. To listen to any, interview with Gene Simmons, they're very unapologetic about that, right? And the women can become almost like, trophies and stuff. Is that misogynistic? Sure. I mean, I can't say that it isn't, but at the same time, it's almost like singing about Satan, right? Are you really a diehard Satanist? Are you really a diehard misogynist? Well, maybe Gene Simmons is, and he probably is. I mean, that's why him and Paul Stanley have been fighting a lot, and there's some guff, watch some interviews with them, but at the end of the day, who freaking cares, right? And just listen to the music and enjoy it, and, put your hand in your pocket and grab onto your rocket, So, meet yourself in the late. Sorry, I'll keep going here. I said, sitting in the back seat with her head down in my lap. I mean, it's like they were really into getting the BJs in this, because everybody, and this is funny. So even with the solo album by Ace Frehley, he's in the back of his Cadillac, wicked lady sitting by my side saying, "Where are we?" I mean, that stuff in my head as a 5 and 6 year old kid. It's just I just had like these, laying in the back seat, sprawled all over, a bunch of, hot adult, because you're a kid, adult, like groupie girls, and, and it's like, what do they mean their heads between their legs? What's that mean? And then, of course, you kind of put two and two together even as a young kid. And, of course, once you get on the playground, start asking around, people are going to tell you. So, again, it's just weird that this stuff was just so unchecked back then. I mean, if my son listens to some music now, and he's 11, but if he came to me at 5 years old and was listening to songs about banging all the time and doing, basically this conquest of women and grabbing rockets and heads in laps and stuff like that, I probably would have went, let's not listen to this right now. Let's move on. Let's find something else to listen to until you're a little older. My parents, obviously, I think somebody mentioned in the comments, about their parents would never let them listen to this stuff. It's weird, because, I mean, we didn't grow up in a super affluent area. Rochester has become an affluent area, and like I said, we were lower middle class. So, and I remember there was a lot of, things were weird. There was a lot of alcohol, probably a lot of drugs, and a lot of smoking of pot, and a lot of things going on at this time in this neighborhood. And it's not like Desperate Housewives, but I wouldn't be put it past. I don't think my mom and my dad were. My dad probably would have loved to have been doing it, but probably didn't do it. I think a lot, especially the neighbors across the street, were total. Well, he went to jail for selling cocaine, had a DeLorean, so he was wife swapping, and they always had these parties, and everybody was drinking all the time, and like literally, you'd go, "Where's mom and dad?" Well, mom's down the street at the Bennett's house, having fuzzy navels with Judy Bennett. And where's Dad at? Well, Dad's over at the Rinkies' house, in the garage, drinking with the Rinkies. It's just like, everybody was drunk. Everybody was, my parents that I know of weren't big potheads. Actually, I remember my dad he didn't have a lot of tolerance for that. He didn't like potheads for some reason. He didn't like drug addicts too. It's what killed him, being an alcoholic, but he was staunch hatred towards drugs and druggy, and high-ons and stuff like that. So, yeah, like I said, it's no wonder that in my circle of town, that they weren't even paying attention to us kids. Like I said, you listen to this stuff, as long as you weren't burning the house down or coming back, shooting a Roman candle off in your eyes and, burning your face off or something, or getting hit by a car. That was a big thing, getting hit by a car. As long as that didn't happen, you could be, you could be out listening to, watching porn and and worshiping Satan and Dinosaur Hill. They didn't care. Make it right on Sunday anyways, go to the church. But anyways, which my parents did go to church. We went to a Baptist church, which was my grandma's church. We went to the Baptist church every Sunday too. Things are a weird time. Weird time for being a kid. I'm not saying, especially in more poorer areas that kids don't have a lot of things to deal with, young kids. I mean, in the city of Bay City, there are lots of bad parts of the town where I'm sure kids have lots of things to deal with, but just weird that just lower middle class, even somewhat middle class, just the shenanigans that would go on, and then you hear stories about people who's like, oh, my parents would never let me go near any of that stuff. It's just like, you had good parents. Obviously, from the stories I've been telling you about my parents weren't stellar, to say the least. But anyways, let's go back on something a little bit more wholesome. Calling Dr. Love. Gene Simmons vocals. Right off the bat, you get that cowbell. I love that, the way that starts out. Anyways, here again, people are on their knees again. So answer please, get on my knees. There you go. So lots of Hummers going on with the Kiss crowd, with the Kiss guys. They really like their getting on their knees and their hands between their heads between their laps or whatever. Ladies' Room, here we go. I couldn't make this stuff up, obviously. It just keeps going. Ladies' Room, Gene Simmons vocals. You're such a jewel in the rough. You want to show me your stuff. I remember saying that to Terry in kindergarten, this girl. She was like the taller kind of girl. And I went to her, I said, you're a jewel in the rough. I said, you want to show me your stuff? And she got mad. I think told Mrs. Elliott. I'm sure I got a talking to. I'm sure I was in trouble again. So yeah, I just remember that line too. Where'd you learn that, lady? Like I said, going back, but nobody, I got in trouble, or you'd say inappropriate things. You do stuff like that as a kid, but nobody said, well, where's he getting this from? From the Kiss albums that he's listening to? Does anybody think? I don't know. It's just a crazy kid, troublemaker kid. Yeah, but he's getting this stuff from somewhere. I mean, obviously, me having a son, almost 99% of the things that come out of my son's mouth have come from YouTube, good or bad. But he's definitely, they're parrots. They just parrot everything that they hear. And there's no difference back then. I'm parroting all this stuff. Baby Driver. Baby Driver, I wasn't really sure. I had to look up the meaning of that song. I was like, what is he really talking about? But it's apparently Baby Driver is about like a woman who lives fast, kind of like burns candles at both ends, kind of, she's a baby driver. She drives too fast. She's out there, she's moving and shaking, like a new world woman type of thing. World doesn't slow down, she doesn't slow down for the world type of thing. That's what the meaning is, supposedly, and it's also vague. So I didn't understand what the baby driver meant. I'm like, what do you mean baby driver? Like, obviously with the context of the rest of the songs, I'm trying to put it all into context. And I'm like, well, yeah, but I don't understand baby driver. Like, I can't think of what that would mean, like what innuendo that would mean. You're driving babies. You're making babies? You become a driver that drives babies around? I don't know. I didn't understand that. I think she's the baby. She's a baby. She's hot. Hey baby. She's a driver. She's a mover and a shaker. I think that's because Peter Criss wrote the song with one of the producers, and he sings it too. So that's side A. So we'll flip over side B. Obviously the tracks are just in order right there. You can see them. But you got side B. Mr. Speed, Paul Stanley vocals again, and I noticed this right off the bat listening to the song when I was listening to it on the album, it's very Bang-A-Gong T-Rex. It seems very much like, it's like a faster, it's a coming, Mr. Speed. If you listen to the music, it sounds very T-Rex Bang-A-Gong. I just love when he says, romance is is? I just love that when he says that. For some reason, as a kid, his weird. What is his? I know it's New York accent. Obviously, he's like, even listen to Peter Criss or you listen to Ace Frehley. They are obviously from New York, right? They got a New York accent, but weird. But Paul Stanley's weird, like quasi. I don't know what it is. It's just like it's kind of homosexual sounding, like almost like a homosexual lisp, but not. And then he's got the New York accent on top of it. It's just like what is his accent? Just when he says romances, and he has that look on his face with his eyebrow and everything. It's just. I know he was trying to be like sexy, and that was the whole thing back then, was to be sexy and do the whole macho thing. But it just came off. And still today, it comes off very, very, very gay, and not that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying, is this what it comes off as? Which it seems counterintuitive to what the songs are about. It just the way he acted. It's like I can see acting like a macho stud, and getting all the ladies, and snapping your fingers and all the ladies becoming your rock star. But at the same time being like super flamboyant and very, effeminate at the same time, like androgynous, I guess. I mean, I guess that's what David Bowie's whole thing was. But David Bowie did it differently, like Stanley's just like all in your face and romances. I just love when he says that. It just drives me crazy. So anyway, I don't know. I just pick up on that. And I remember even as a kid picking up that I'd say romances. It's the way he'd say that. Here we go, getting on the knees again. You try pleasing, but get on your knees, don't make it. There you go. Oh, so getting on your knees, don't make it. So she's trying to please him, and he is good. She's going for the BJ. She's going for the blow J. But he's like, I ain't going to cut it. You got to do more than that. You got to step up your game, baby. I'm not just going for, getting on your knees, just don't make it. He wants romances. So it's hilarious. I don't know, for some reason I just can't stop laughing when I see that stuff. Funny. Anyways, let's move on. So, See You in Your Dreams Tonight, Gene Simmons vocals. It's a good song. It's a pretty tame one. Obviously, you see, he's like, hey, you see some hot girl. She doesn't. I think it's even the lyrics like he doesn't give her the time of day, or she's too good for him. That's okay. I'll see you in my dreams tonight. We're gonna get it on. Even if we're going to get it on in my dreams. But one way or another, we're getting it on, whether you like it or not. Which also seems very creepy. Very creeper. Safe creeper. I mean, it's not like he's saying, we're getting it on, wonder if you like it or not. He's going for the assault. But he's definitely, it's the safe way of being a creep. Hey, I'll be thinking about you later, Spank bank, I guess. I guess that's what the most... He's putting her in the spank bank. Anyways, and then Hard Luck Woman, which, as I was reading the description about it, and I totally agree with it. I thought this sounds very Maggie May, You Wear It Well, Rod Stewart, and apparently the song was written by Stanley and was originally written for Rod Stewart. He was going to sell it off to Rod Stewart, which is why it sounds just like Maggie May. It's the only acoustic song off the album, I believe. And then, but of course, Peter Criss, had hit one out of the park with Beth, his raspy voice, the chicks love him type of thing. If it's going to be an song on the album that the chicks love, it's got to be the acoustic song. So, so anyways, I call it, they didn't call it, but I named it just Beth Mark II, and that's pretty much, Hard Luck Woman is Beth Mark II. And they basically alluded to the same thing. They said because of the popularity of Beth, Stanley thought it'd be better if, Peter Criss sang it, just so, and kind of capitalize on the popularity of Beth, so it's the same thing. But to me, it's Beth Mark II. It's the song that's specifically written to do exactly what it did. And again, I make this, overall, I still got one more song to do, but overall, I think if they were to really give in to their imagery, meaning, the whole Knights and Service and everything kind of has this weird demonic feel to it, and this kind of hokey comic book character feel to it, but I think if they're really to go in hard and just play like Black Sabbath music, right, and really, really double down on that, I don't think they would have been as popular. I think the fact that they lightened up the music, they went more of a Led Zeppelin approach, and did some ballads in there, really catered to, they got to get the song the chicks are going to dig in here. It's got to do Beth, got to get the acoustic guitars out and cater to the ladies. Even all the other songs they're wanting to just bang all the ladies. Like I said, I don't know. Apparently people didn't have cynicism back in the 70s. Maybe they were self-aware back then, meaning the band Kiss. I'm assuming they are. I mean, they seem like, Gene Simmons seems like a pretty smart guy. It seems like he would have been self-aware, and they were going for shtick, and they were, they're putting together a product, but were they really self-aware? It's like, this is kind of weird if you think about it. We're trying, I don't know. I guess self-aware would probably be the best way to describe that. I wonder if they were, hey, Gene, if you're watching, which you probably aren't, what were you thinking back then? I mean, it's hilarious. It's genius. But I'm giving you that. But it just, I don't know. It just seems like people now think differently, obviously think different than they did back then. Even myself, I think a lot different than I did when I was 5 years old listening to this stuff. All right, last song. Track 10, Making Love. Making Love! Again, why sing about Satan or anything else at this point? Why move on and sing about, barracudas or anything? Let's keep, this is a concept album. It's all about banging chicks. That's the concept. It'd be weird if they had like 9-minute long rock epics on double gatefold. The epic of banging chicks. If anybody's to do it, Kiss would have been the band to do it. Maybe that, or Led Zeppelin probably would have done that. I mean, or I guess any rock, Three Dog Night, any rock band. That's pretty much what it was all about back then. But what was I going to say about this song? In this one, Making Love, very heavy right off the get. The riff, the opening guitar riff, is very Led Zeppelin. I hate it when the girl says wait. I hate it when the girl says wait. That's why you're going to see her in your dreams tonight. Girl says wait, all right, I'll wait. I'm going to go see you in my dreams tonight. Then I'll meet you in the ladies' room. The song is called Dr. Love. Anyways, yeah. So, but overall, I said I love it as much as I'm just shitting on the album, the lyrics. I love the album. It's an amazing album. It's iconic. It's classic. I mean, you can't take anything away from it. Like I said, we're putting here my final closing. In my opinion, judging by the lyrics and the Led Zeppelin approach, to make it more commercially successful and appeal to the ladies' carnal and subconscious fantasies, which I guess is what they're doing. I said, if they went musically and self-indulgent, went down like a Black Sabbath road and really prayed into that, I don't think they would have been. It would have lacked punch. It would have just fallen flat. It would be, and that's why I think like death metal and a lot of the stuff nowadays, it's just like you're singing about all this stuff. It's just like, there's no punch to this. I don't care how fast you play the guitar. I don't know how far you detune your guitar to sound like Satan's farting every 5 seconds. I don't care what you do. It just doesn't have any grapes. There's no balls to that. That becomes in itself pretty faggy. I think if you play it like they did, I think bands like that. I mean, I think just that has punch to it. It's in your face. It's rock. It's hard. It's not hard rock. I mean, although it has, I guess, a little bit of hard rock in it, but it's straight up in your face. They're unapologetic about their lyrics. They are just having fun, and I think let's talk about being so. I don't think people nowadays like these new metal bands and all this stuff, or whatever 9,000 different genres there are to music. I don't think any of these people are that self-aware. I don't think they realize, like, this is really stupid. I guess. I mean, whatever they do, and they're like, well, it makes us money. Girls get on their knees and beg you please because they do this music. So I guess if it's working, more power to you guys. But I don't know. I just find it just doesn't. It lacks balls. I think this stuff has balls to it. You can sing about screwing Satan all you want, and Satan's gonna rape your mother and all this other stuff, and blah 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 blah, and do this crazy music that's lightning fast and double bass is lightning fast, and sing like you're, like you're about to, you don't have to go to school the next day because your voice is gone. If you're gonna sing if you're gonna do all that, I just think it's dumb. But I think if you take chances like this, and be right out in your face with this stuff, I think that's got so much more power to it. Just my opinion, I mean, you can argue with me all you want, and listen to your arguments. But my opinion is, I think this has got more appeal to it. In my closing, it's hard to sing about banging chicks and Satan in the same song. I'm sorry, it's just you gotta have one or the other. So they're taking the chicks. They're gonna leave Satan by the curb. So but I did make Ghost does a very good job of that. Ghost does a very good job of Satan and girls doing things. I think the Mariana Cross, isn't that the Hope and Hope thing of Mariana something? I can't remember the lyrics of Mariana Cross, but isn't she going down for the Hummer too and worshiping Satan at the same time? I can't remember. So anyways, yeah, my last sentence. It's hard to believe nobody thought anything about a 5-year-old boy listening to this album over and over. Apparently nobody did. Apparently this is in 50 years old, this is the outcome of that. Me. So, So anyways, I definitely went over my limit. Hour and 11 minutes, but, like I said, everybody loved it. Again, I want to touch on this too. The Kiss one, my other Kiss video, all my other videos, like the highest one was like the Ghost album, and maybe the Warhammer 40,000 one got like 250. I haven't checked it today, but I'm assuming that the Kiss one might even have hit 1,000. Is it because I'm doing Kiss and there's just that many more fans and that many more people, that are into Kiss than any of the other stuff that I talk about? Maybe. I don't know what it is. I don't know exactly why people would glom on. I mean, this is the video that's going to put me on the map, or take me into being, getting monetized, and people are coming after this. I mean, I could talk about Kiss all day if you want me to, and I can definitely do that. I'll go through every single album. I don't know if I want to go into their stuff in the 80s, the non-makeup stuff. I gotta say I didn't like that. And Vinnie Vincent stuff and the Eric Carr stuff, the Creatures of the Night album's okay, but anything after that I'm just like, and I really don't want to do The Elder, but I guess maybe I'll do The Elder. I guess there's your concept album, their Banging Chicks concept album. But I don't think the song's about banging chicks. A world without heroes. I just remember that. And their hair looked weird. But anyways, I can do deep dive on Kiss. If Kiss is what people want to hear, obviously, then with the amount of traffic that the Kiss video got, then I can go full on Kiss. I'd like to still touch on some of the other stuff. I also feel like I kind of talked to death about some of the other stuff, so maybe I do need to kind of hyper focus on something. I'm still gonna continue to do my Ghost videos because I like my band Ghost right now. And I haven't done a Rush. I could do a Rush video like this, because we're talking about my favorite bands of all time. I could go really deep dive Blue Oyster Cult, deep dive Rush, deep dive Cheap Trick, deep dive Yes. But it looks like Kiss is pretty hot. So it's hotter than hell. So anyways, I think I might do some more Kiss. I'm definitely buying more albums, and I'm going to get the Ace Frehley solo album probably next. And then I'll get maybe Destroyer, and then Love Gun. And then if I can get a copy of Live, Kiss Alive 2, a decent copy, old red vintage, or I'd rather have the reissue. I'm just kind of waiting to see if they come out with reissue that, because they reissued Kiss Alive 1. I don't know why they haven't re-released Kiss Alive 2. But anyways, there's more Kiss albums that I'm definitely going to own, so I'll definitely do talks on those as I go. Yeah. So that's where we're going with this. It's almost been an hour and 15 minutes, so let's call it there. If you're one of the almost 1,000 people that are watching these Kiss videos, I noticed that the subscribing went up a little bit, and I did hit over 100, and I wasn't going to, have a, whole drop-down, drag-out party for hitting 100 subscribers, whip-de-doo-dah, you know. I think 1,000's more like it, because then I'll be monetized. So, yeah. So for now, yeah, like I said, this Kiss, and here's the thing. Now nobody's going to watch this video. Oh, he's doing Kiss. I'm not interested in that. How'd the other one get 1,000 views? Tell ya, I just don't understand how the world works sometimes. Yeah, so like it. If anything, like it. Even if you don't subscribe, liking it will not put it. I don't think it'll put it like constantly in your feed. I know subscribing will put my stuff in your feed, but you know, I think liking it does more for the algorithm than subscribing. Sure, subscribing gets me closer to monetization, but I think if you like it, if everybody puts more likes on it, I think that elevates. I don't know exactly. I'm just guessing here, but that elevates it up more as far as the algorithm than actually subscribing. So if anything, you're going to do anything, you watch this video, you hit this video, you only watch it for 5 minutes, and you wouldn't hear me talking if you only listened for 5 minutes because it's the end of the video. But anyways, hit the, maybe I should start giving my subscribe, like spiel in the beginning of the video. That's I'll do that next time. I'll put my spiel at the beginning, because I also looked and people only watch about 20 minutes in this, and now I'm almost done. I'm heading towards an hour and a half, so maybe I'll stop talking. But anyways, like, subscribe, do all that stuff, and I don't know what I'm going to do tomorrow. Oh, Opus Eponymous isn't here yet. I'm not gonna get another Kiss album right away, so I'm gonna go into something else. But maybe I'll do a deep dive. I really don't want to do Kiss Phantom of the Park right now, even though I just watched it. But I should. Maybe I will. I don't know. Like I said, this will become the Kiss channel, so we'll see what's going on from there. So anyways, I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.